Hello and welcome to your 10th Java programming tutorial. I've changed my view so that you can watch it from YouTube clearer and you don't have to go to full screen to actually see what I'm typing in. If you like this view, leave a post on comments so I can know that people like this view. And in this tutorial, I will be teaching about arrays, which are very useful. In the past couple tutorials, I've been teaching about some multi-class based things, but that's kind of more advanced, so I'm going to move some more of that stuff later. So what we're going to do is we are going to first make the main class, so public static void main, and do this and like that, like we always do, and go string. And one thing that you may not notice, well, actually I'll explain it to you later, because after you learn about strings you'll understand this, sort of. I don't even understand it fully, but so what an array is it's a bunch of integers linked together, so that instead of having to go int I1 equals 3, int I2 equals 7, int I3 equals 1. And then suppose you want to add 1 to each of these. Suppose you want to add 1 to each of these. You have to go I1 shift plus plus, I2 shift plus plus, and I3 shift plus plus. And that's really a pain. Plus, you kind of want to be able to link the variables together. So what you use is an array, which is a way to link variables together. So the way you make an array is you type int, and then this brackets, like that, equals new int, kind of like if you remember when you are making the class. Oh, sorry, you need to add the name of the int. So Henry equals new integer, and here's what you have to do here. You have to specify the length, how many of them you want to have. So in this example, we're going to want to have 3. So now, that's a way to have Henry have 3 variables. Right now, there's Henry 0, Henry 1, and Henry 2 are basically the 3 variables it makes. But instead of being Henry 1 and Henry 2 and stuff, you have to add these brackets to show the position in the array. So Henry 0 equals 4. That sets it to 0. And Henry 1 equals 7. And Henry 2 equals 1. So if you do that, you have, I'm going to make a simple for loop that's going to print out the names of the variables. So this is, you don't even have to do this. I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. Int I equals 0, comma, I is less than 3. And I plus plus. So this will run this program where I is 0, 1, and 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sys, this is what we learned in the first tutorial, except I'm messing it up, system dot out dot print line, and here we are going to add Henry, and we're going to add I. We're going to add I. So basically this will print out each of our numbers. So if we run this, and it runs, and yes, we want to run it, it'll go, it's a really small window actually, it goes 4, 7, 1, which goes from Henry 0 to this. But this is 4 lines of code to say what these variables are. And that makes it, even though it's easier to print them all out, it still takes actually longer to declare them. So I'm going to show you another cool thing. You can actually go int, why am I messing this up? Int Henry equals, and then add these curly brackets. What this does is it allows you to say what it equals and the length both at once. So to do this, you add a bunch of numbers. And it takes each number, it says there's 5 numbers. So we're going to make an array, a bunch of integers that are linked together, 5 long. So Henry 0, Henry 1, Henry 2, Henry 3, and Henry 4. And we're going to call them 3, 7, 3, 6, and 8. And now that it's 5 long, we need to change this to 5. And if we run it, and OK, now as you can see, we printed out all our numbers, these numbers. And that's much easier. One last cool thing I'm going to show you is if you do this, if you take the name of a array and then type dot length, it gives you an integer that represents the length of this. So so long as I is less than 5, so that goes I is 0 through 4, which is exactly what we want. So that is going to allow us to put anything we want in here with commas in between them, and it'll print it all out. And I'm going to show you another thing. Lastly, the thing is, if you do it with a string, or you can actually also do it with a double, you can also do it with a string, and suppose I want the letters A, B, C, D. And it's exactly the same with a string and exactly the same with double. A, B, C, D. It'll print it out. So, if you don't understand what this for loop is, post a comment, but I'm assuming that you all know what for loops pretty much are to get the idea of strings. And I'm just going to say strings pretty much don't have, arrays. Arrays pretty much don't have a limit. Like, you can make an integer array called Bob and call it Bob and set it equal to a new integer array. And this integer array will have a length of 4,000. And that will run just fine. There's not really a limit to how long an array can be. An array can be as long as you want. This might blow up the computer or something because, no, that's too long a number. Like, my computer doesn't have enough data to store that if they were all numbers, it wouldn't have enough data to store. But they can be so long as it wouldn't, like, have too much data. It should work. Like, you can make them ridiculously high numbers with computers today. So, that's it for this tutorial. And I will see you in the next tutorial.